Get strong.
Hi everyone, and welcome to What's Ruby Doing. Today I'm going to do an abstract landscape with the flowers that are in my garden. So I've got my palette all ready. I'm going to do one with lots of colour and one with minimal, so that if you don't have a lot of paints you can follow along as well. Okay, let's get started. I've had to think about my composition so I know where I'm going to place my paints, and I'm going to totally abstract it, and I'll show you some of the video that I've taken to give you an idea of how I come up with what I do. I like to start with my darker colours first. So if you've only got minimal paints, I'm going to choose the violet plus Naples yellow, titanium white, and some of the pink. I'm going to put my paint on first, and then I'm going to blend it with a brush. We're looking for balance, get a bit of balance in our composition. I like to work on a few pieces at once. It may appear that I'm being very random with these marks, although I've had a good think about it before I've started. Just got to grab another palette knife. I don't want to mix my aqua in with my purple. These canvases have both been pre-gessoed, then I've put some pastes underneath for the texture, an underpainting of one colour, so we have raw umber underneath this one, and we've got red gold underneath this one, and then I've painted them over with gesso. Now before I add any more paint, I'm going to do a little bit of blending. Make sure your brush is wet so it doesn't soak up all your paint. And let's move some of this paint around. I'm going to do a bit of cross hatching here. I like the textural marks that it makes. I'm going to go right up to my pink, although not touch the Naples yellow. This beautiful violet is representing the salvia that I've got growing in the garden outside. Now we're just doing a bit of stippling. Gives us different textural marks. And just to give you an example, I'll go through stippling with a different colour. We're already working on some highlights. I don't want to disrupt the darker purple much. I'd like to leave that as my focal point. As you can see, I'm grabbing just a tiny bit of the aqua. Just bring a little bit down to the base. And I like to leave a little bit of an edge. Now back in with our purple. Just touching on the aqua. You'll see that beautiful blue-green coming through now. You can stipple in any direction you like. It's just that I like to do it this way, representing the ridges in my garden. Swapping brushes. Now I need a bit more paint. I'm going to add a little bit of white. And a bit more pink. Make sure our brush is damp. So we'll make sure our brush is damp but not dripping. And you'll notice when I stipple over the pink how it spreads around. As you can see, I'm working quickly because I don't want the paint to dry. Although these paints are Acrylic interactive paints, so if it does start to dry off a bit, I just need to dampen it down and I can keep working through. I've been painting abstract paintings for a very long time, so I know how to place the paint and where I like the highlights and the features. If you're new to this, a really good way of working and learning is to take a photograph of your piece, have a look at it, and if you think it doesn't look quite right, then work into it a bit more until it does. Now we're going into the white, titanium white. I'd like a bit more colour down this corner, so I'm just going to grab some. And I think I'll use some cadmium yellow. It's a beautiful sunny day outside, so this is representing those colours that I can see. I like to put it on with a palette knife. Now I'll get a clean brush. Be sure to wet it down. I just wet mine down by squirting a bit of water onto it and then wiping the excess onto my apron. Now I'll just put the slightest little bit over the purple by tapping my brush gently. I will do a whitewash over this one once it's dry, which tones all those colours and brings them together. Now, because I've got caught up working on this one, the paint is just starting to go off on this. So all I need to do is spray a little bit of water, like so, and I can add some of my colours back in now. I'm going to do a lot more blending on this one, and because of that I like more white. I just need to get a little bit more paint, and then I'll use my palette knife to add it on. Now I've got a thicker brush to do some of the basic blending, and then I'll go back in with a smaller one. And see how by wetting our paint we've now made it active again. I'd like the pink to be a little bit more active, so just another little spray. And you can see how these are blending nicely now. The pink and purple I'll stick with this brush, and then I'll get another one to blend in the Naples yellow. Sorry about seeing the back of my head all the time. Time to change brushes. My Naples yellow's gone off again. Let's get it interactive. I'm happy with the way that one's looking now. Let's go back and work on this one. It should be dry now, so I'm just going to go over with some watered down titanium white, and I use clear paint medium, but if you don't have that you can just add some water and thin it down. Then I'll gently drag over. And that's a bit too much for me. So I've got a paper towel and I'm just going to take a little bit off. And you'll see how by doing this it starts to unite the piece. I like to swap my brushes up if I'm not happy with the effect they make. So I'm now going onto a bigger brush, and I can gently drag that over without gathering paint. Remember to let your artwork dry so that you can touch and no paint's coming off. Then you can do your whitewash. Again, I've been doing this for a long time, so I can work quite quickly. Some sections I'd like the white a little bit thicker. Just to tap off the excess. I'm just going to do some flicking on this piece. So I've got myself a hard bristle brush. I'm going to put my colour on here and flick over the top. And I didn't say so, but I think I'm going to put aqua over the top of this one. So we've got our aqua on the end of our brush. You can use a toothbrush to do this too. And you just get your finger and flick it. And that's what happens afterwards. You have the subtle, very subtle little flecks of colour. And until these are completely dry, I can't go back in and do any more. So I'll pop them out to dry and I'll see you in a bit. I'm going to work back into this one with the cobalt turquoise. I've thinned it out with my clear paint medium so it's nice and runny. And you'll see what happens. Now I want to give it a few taps. Make sure your other one doesn't fall off. And you can see those beautiful run marks that are coming now. I want my runs to stay on this side of the artwork, so I just dab off the other side. The more you tap, the more they run. Now I'm doing the same with our Naples yellow. And as you can see, beautiful runs. Bit too much, take it off. Again, this one needs to sit and dry. Now I'll do my wash over this one. As you can see, it just softens the colour a little more. I've actually done the wash in Naples yellow on this one. And I'm using a cross-hatching technique. Adds a bit more texture in a very subtle way. I like to work my way from the outside in. I'm happy with that piece now, so I'm going to leave it alone. I'd like the pinks to pop a bit more in this one, so I'm going to add some more colour. I find it good to stand back and have a look. Yep, like how that's going. love working with a palette knife when you have painting underneath, because as you drag it, some of those underlying colours shine through. And I can be very gentle and just leave a subtle hint. If I think it's a bit too much, my trusty paper towel, and just dab. So depending on the amount of layers that you've put onto your artwork, you have to make sure that it's completely dry before you seal it. I've left this for 48 hours and I can then put on my picture varnish. I choose a matte because I like it flat and not glossy. Or you can use the Liquitex matte medium and you paint that on. This one is much thicker. This light fix, I like to do 4 coats. So once that's done, it will hold the colour, there'll be no yellowing, and you'll get the depth in your work. You'll see here some of the paints that we've used in creating this artwork today, and some of the flowers in the garden that I've based the abstraction upon. I hope you've really enjoyed this process, and if there's any questions you have, drop me a line. Thanks for joining What's Ruby Doing. See you next time.